Grab your PSP, fellas, cause we're going back in time. The PlayStation Portable. What an amazing handheld console it is. I know some of you might not know about this console. Hell, it's almost 2 decades old. Pretty sure some of yous watching aren't even born yet. So I'm just gonna give a quick history lesson. The year is 2005. Sony released the PSP to rival the Nintendo DS. It was made as a follow-up of their best-selling home console, the PlayStation 2. It was powerful at its time, has multimedia capabilities, and can connect to your home console, either the best-selling PlayStation 2 or its successor, PlayStation 3. The best part is, Sony didn't release this console as a shadow to the PlayStation 2. It's made to go along with it, which is why this console has many exclusives only for that system. And those exclusives are also a banger, mind you. New titles like Patapon or titles that have a huge following like God of War, Ghost of Sparta, or Final Fantasy Crisis Core. That's proof enough that Sony is also trying to turn their home console owners into these handheld players as well. But those games were released years after the PSP was launched. Developers already know what to expect, what hardware, how to exploit the system to the fullest, and create an amazing experience that not only works, but also benefits from this handheld device. One of those games that aren't that is Rengoku. Why? It was released in the same year. Now, I know what you're thinking. Battlefront 2, amazing game, 05. And yes, you are correct. I really can't cover for them, so I don't have any excuse. Rengoku itself is a game that, oh my god, there really is nothing about this game. If you look at the box art, there are two companies here. One of them is a big name that we all know and love, Konami, with bangers such as Metal Gear Survive. If you think that one of them is the dev, I'm quite certain to say this, you're wrong. And don't feel bad, it's not just you, I cannot blame you. Even people still get it wrong. Hudson at the time was a subsidiary of Konami. Because Hudson is publishing the game, Konami also is the publisher of the game as a parent company. But here's the neat part of them all. They both put their names on the box, yet when you go to Konami Wiki, Hudson Wiki, there is barely any mention about Rengoku. As if they're wiping their hands because the game has a low score. I don't know if that's the case though. So, who is the developer? Who is our mystery guy? It's Neverland, the ones behind Rune Factory. And this is as legit as it gets. It's on their archive website. Why is it archive, you say? Their company went defunct in 2013. But at least they're not afraid to say that they have a connection with the game. Apart from that, nothing about the development of the game made it through. At least we get the names of who developed the game. You know what else went through? Reviews. Quick Google search immediately lands you with bad reviews, which automatically turns people off. These reviews are as old as the game itself. And I have a feeling that because the year is 2005, they are at the mercy of, not the masses, but the gaming magazine outlets that reviews are read by the larger mass. And you know how game journalists are. The game is disliked all across the board, with only a few giving it a slight praise. You know what this reminds me of? Demon's Souls. Sony president disliked Demon's Souls the first time he played it. Obviously, not everyone is gonna like it, but it's too early to say. But anything the Overlord Game Magazine says is the truth in 2005. Only difference here is that Rengoku is older than Demon's Souls. Because of how more accessible the internet was in 2009, along with the community that has grown more open, Demon's Souls ended up becoming a fan favorite, being talked mouth to mouth on forums, and the art design, since this is real gamers playing, are actually loved. And game magazines instead absorb what people think instead of giving their own piece. Now, the game isn't without its faults. I do think some of the criticism still holds water if only I can read the whole thing. And comparing this with Demon's Souls is obviously a far-fetched one. But I have my reasons, you'll get why later. Before I begin on the game, I just want to be clear that what I meant by a game far ahead of its time does not apply only to us, the players, but also the devs. I do believe this game could be so much more if it's developed in this day and age, and I hope someday we will get an equivalent of it. So what is Rengoku? What kind of game is it? According to Neverland, it's a third-person shooter. It's more than that though, especially considering the year when it was released. Saying this game is a third-person shooter is an understatement. If I were to explain it, it has elements of looter shooter, RPG, dungeon crawling, and even modern genres such as roguelike and Souls-like. You heard that right, fellas? This game is a Souls-like even before a Souls game ever existed. This is only one bit where the game is innovative, but it only borrows some aspects from them. Some are good and you might even be familiar with it. This is one of the neat parts. Your enemies can have the same weapons, same capabilities, same chances as you to kill. They can be as powerful or as weak as you. I think Wes Lane here says it the best.
For me, when NPCs have to abide by the same laws as I do, it does so much more to make me believe I'm in the game world than any amount of 8K textures or ray tracing.
Where the enemy has to follow the same rule as you and vice versa. Again, a lot of Dark Souls enemies are just that. And with that, the way you get equipment is by random drops from your enemies. You can increase these drop chances by dealing overkill damage, so it's not too tedious. Also, the drop equipment will always follow what the enemy equip. So if you want a katana, fight enemies with katana and so on. The game requires patience and precision. When to strike and when to dodge. Oh look guys, rolling! The rolling also has iframes on it. You also cannot spam roll. There is a threshold system to prevent spamming some moves, comparable to the stamina bar. That's not all the Souls-like element it has. You know how when you die in Dark Souls, you drop all your souls? In this game, instead of losing the money, you lose your current equipment. Punishing, yes, but since there is a looter shooter element, you can go to lower levels and farm equipment. Wow, what does that remind me of? Another one to boot is the leveling system. There is only one currency in this game, like souls in Dark Souls. You use it in the upgrade menu, and kinda upgrade whatever you want. It's not as complex as Dark Souls though. Weapons aren't gated by your stats. You can equip any weapon as long as you have the slot. It's also pretty self-explanatory. You want more defense, upgrade defense. You want to carry more weapons, upgrade the slots, and so on. When you go to your safe room, here's the fun bit. You can change your whole body with equipment. Want a gun on your head? Nothing stopping you. A railgun on your chest? Go for it. Only the legs are limited in supportive equipment. But that alone is already immense customizability. This is like a Soulsborne combat system with Armored Core customization. What is this? Armored Core 6? No, Armored Core 6 is not a Souls-like. Hate to break it to you, buddy. This game is the closest we'll ever get. Which is why the game is so far ahead of its time. But at the same time, this is the part where I think Rengoku actually falls short in its innovative approach. As early as they are, their system is still imperfect. I say this is a roguelike. Let me rephrase that. Roguelite. Because the map looks almost computer generated. It's not. Everyone's stuck in this bare-ass goofy looking square room. You die, the map doesn't change. It's not even about the room. It's the map. I don't mind playing Hades and went into the same room I've encountered in my previous run, but I won't get it at the same time as I was before. The map layout in this game doesn't change. It's like dungeon crawling, but you are actually crawling only one dungeon. It's so bare, so linear. Why? There is so much potential for this game to be roguelike, permadeath, losing equipment like that. That's one that I said the development of this game is far too young. Imagine a modern roguelike game like this. It would be executed far better than using the same goofy looking room with an unchanging boring map like this. There are a lot more things I hate about this game, not because it's simply bad, but because the idea is there, and I've seen it executed with how far away we are now. This game is almost 2 decades old. They almost had it. It's almost revolutionary. They manage a multi-type damage system, but botched it in the relation with the mechanics. The math is less complex than Dark Souls. There are 5 damage types, but they all deal damage, with the exception if the enemy is wearing a damage exclusive defensive system. How do you know? Go figure. This is the weird part. Despite the ultimate customization and the amount of different arsenals provided, the game really doesn't want you to change your playstyle. You are far more encouraged to play just one style from the beginning, because the amount of damage you deal isn't based on what type your weapon is versus what type your enemy is. No, the damage type is for your capability with that weapon, on top of the equipment itself. So imagine me, who uses a bullet type weapons, will deal less damage, less DPS if I use other weapons like a katana. If I mix match my equipment, I'm being punished. My end game is literally walk up to the enemy and empty my chamber right up their ass. They want you to play linearly, boringly. And you're also being punished if you do that from the beginning, because the way you level your capability is by defeating enemies with that weapon type. So if you, for example, from the start, use a katana and a gun, or even multi-type weapons like bazooka or a grenade launcher, you might divide the XP between 2 bars. Again, you're incentivized to play boringly. They even blatantly said so in the game's guide, page 13. They straight up say, grinding makes you stronger. Grinding should never be a feature in the game. Ever. Then the progression. If it's roguelike, of course it's going to be non-linear. Same with Dark Souls Metroidvania-ish world design. There is no world design in this game. So there is like this map you have, and the battle happens between room to room. To progress, you have to map the whole floor, the whole boring ass map, then you can continue on to the boss, which then allows you to go to the next floor. There are 8 floors. It starts small and grows bigger. I really don't like this idea. It's either a completionist or nothing, on top of the uninspired map design. I have a lot more qualms with this game, but I do believe that most of them are minor compared to what I've said. I also cannot get my thoughts straight, so I'm just gonna read my notes out loud. Boring level design, already talked that. Boring graphics, well, it's 2005. Barely any tutorial, yes! So the tutorial for this game is on the main menu instead of in-game. It also only does the minimum, like how to move or attack. Battle mechanic could really get an improvement, right? With the ultimate customization, the way you can use weapons on all body parts, they really don't have synergy altogether. Even the regular fist is just spamming the same move 3 times. The only reason to use your other weapons is if the other is on a cooldown. So it's less of playing with a combo, more of a use your favorite weapon until it's empty and then swap. Although it's dungeon crawling, it's not randomly generated, yeah. Despite the idea of a hard game, it also gives the player a huge favor with auto recovering HP and the capacity to just go back to the safe room anytime. since you can skip a room if you already clear it once. And with that, the fact that your weapon has a durability, a great difficulty mechanism mind you, going back to your room immediately repairs them. And going back to the safe room anytime also introduces the capacity to save scamming. I wish they kinda show when an equipment is empty like a broken state instead of just gone from my body. Feels like a tech demo through my past self. Difficulty spike in floor 4 that although balances the easy mechanics from before, still unwelcome for its imperfect dynamic. Like enemy hits so hard has so much better AI. It would be better if hard mechanics were introduced one level at a time instead of jumping like this. Locked out of a good gunner build until later in the game. Yeah, this is because guns in the beginning are literally pistols and later on it's just a fucking bazooka. You tell me why it's better in late game. For something that has a bit of roguelike, the penalty for dying is relatively small, being only losing used equipment. Grinding. Yeah. But at the same time, they don't clearly state what kind of weapon something is. Remember the multi-type damage weapons? You're kinda left in the dark about what weapon deals what damage. There is nothing on the UI that lets you know. It uses your perception instead, like a pistol is a bullet type or a sword is a physical type. What does a railgun do then? How about a crossbow? Hugging the wall will block your bullet, Immensely bad attempt at trying to prolong the game's content. Yes, this! As if it was a bad joke, when you beat the final boss, the NPC literally said, "Psych!" and send you back down to level 1. You need to replay the whole thing for the true ending. The only good side of this is the game is harder on New Game Plus. Enemies are more aggressive as well and the maps are reward. Wow guys, different maps! Who could have thought such an idea? All of this does make the game feel refreshing once again. New Game Plus weapons uses the same design, right? In New Game Plus there are new weapons with amazing new stats. It's just their designs are the same. There is a max cap for your storage, right? That's annoying. Multiple damage type isn't clearly stated on the weapon? Wait, I thought I already talked about this. Edgy story. Yeah, like everyone who plays Dark Souls play for the story. Jokes aside, the story is being told in this bare-bone text on screens. No cutscenes, no flares. Just dudes chatting. If you want to know the actual story, read the official guide. The story itself isn't even that good. I mean, it's 2005, it's edgy, but I don't think they really need to focus that much on the story when the gameplay leaves so much to be desired. P.S. Goofy as it is, Suemi Jun, the artist behind the amazing designs, is being put up front like Geiger is to Scorn. That's telling something. P.S. Number 2. You know the game is old when they don't have game designer as a role. There are no game designer in the credits. All of this could be mitigated if this is a new era game. Why? Because there is already people doing the stuff Rengoku is doing, but better. Combat system, Dark Souls. Level design, roguelikes. Player customization, Armored Core. All they need to do is look over to the neighbor side of the lawn and yoink, put it in their game. All the things that they are trying to do have been perfected. For real, why hasn't someone made a Souls like Armored Core? And I guess it's fun seeing the growth of games, how they are designed now compared to back then. But it's kinda sad that when you notice what they are trying to do back then and weren't given a good enough chance, and yet shits like the new Saints Row get a pass. How about we give these old games a chance, a better chance in a new era? And you know what's worse? I haven't gotten around finishing it, but the sequel actually slaps. Still in the limitation of a PSP, it manages to make the game far more appealing fluid, dynamic, and faster paced. There is a combo system now, like, look at this! The level design is far more intricate, making the world feel dynamic and alive. The rooms are also not just battlegrounds. You have these corridors, and the battle room has variety in them. This shows me the developers know what's up. If you ever decide to pick up the game, save yourself some trouble and play the second one. Or maybe play the first one if you wanna feel the progression of the development. I can only imagine what the third installment would be like if it wasn't cancelled. Oh, and also, grab a PSP instead of an emulator for the second one. There is a bloom effect that is blinding that I cannot seem to get rid of. I understand that this kind of talk is a bit off-putting since you're just like me, we're players, the consumers. We cannot do anything about the games we play. It's as if I'm just ranting about the economy to a McDonald's drive-thru in 3 AM. But can you really blame me when more and more games from our childhood are just being guillotined? Metal Gear is literally dead. Assassin's Creed is boring. Prince of Persia hasn't had any news for 2 years, and the trailer we got last time looks like clay models. They're not even considering Bloodborne existed. Yet in between them, a crack is starting to open that allows us to pick what could have been. The studio behind Patapon has been shut down, yet the people behind it still pursue their passion in games. We get the Project Jabberwocky, a throwback to that nostalgic rhythm game, but in a newer era. Kojima is trying to live his dream game. That new Death Stranding trailer looks sick. And even studios and companies now know how huge their titles are. Dead Space got a remake, Konami with Silent Hill, Square's Final Fantasy VII, System Shock. I feel like there is hope for us, not just to dream, but to also see what could be. And it's closer than we could have ever expected, which is why I want to make this video, sort of like, hey, this doesn't work back then, but maybe it'll work now. But hey, I'm just one guy, and I've been blabbing for too long. If you want a more in-depth review, there is a video by Max7238. And lastly, thank you for the last video. I'm very grateful that you find it worth a watch. For those of you who came from there and subscribed, I'm very sorry if this isn't the type of content you want. I'm kinda random. I'm quirky like that. Fuck me. But if you are here and watch the video that long, I just hope you enjoyed it. And I barely say this in any of my videos, but it's never too late to start. If you have any underrated, unknown, or maybe games from a defunct company that you think might work now, hell, if you just wanna talk at all, comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Who knows, I might find another banger game.